It's time for the Lovable Me Show. Based on the award-winning book series, I Am a Lovable Me. Get ready to have some fun learning with Lovable, our resident enlightening bug. Are you ready? Close your eyes and let's count to 3. 1, 2, 3. Now open them. Here we go.
Hello and welcome back to the Lovable Me Show. I'm Sharon Penchina, your host and the author of the award-winning I Am a Lovable Me books for children. We have a special guest today whose many years of experience will help us raise awareness about an extremely important topic, one that's now even more relevant than ever before due to the very challenging times that we live in now. How to deal with bullying and what we can do to help prevent it in the first place. But before she joins in, I'd like to simply remind you about a few things that you can implement with your kiddos to help deepen and strengthen your relationship with them in a more mindful way. Now, when it comes to communicating with them, maintain a posture of love and respect. No matter how old your child is, do your very best to speak with them rather than at them. And be sure to make eye contact and give them your full undivided attention whenever possible. This is one of the greatest gifts that you can ever give them, or anyone for that matter. Now, when it comes to acceptance, we all have qualities that we can be proud of. That being said, we can also exhibit behavior that's less than desirable. And obviously that goes both for kiddos and for adults. Labeling is very limiting, and it places our children in a box, whether it's labeling them as good or bad regarding any topic. It has long and lasting implications. It can bring about a fixed mindset in terms of what our kids will come to expect about themselves and how that actually contributes to a low self-esteem or an unhealthy need to overachieve in order to gain approval. Learning self-acceptance goes a long way in life. And when you learn to love and accept the totality of yourself, shame, blame, and the need for approval from the outer world is no longer the driving force in how you live your life. Remember to ask questions. Listen. Get a jump start to better understand what's going on with your kids when you offer them your full and undivided attention, your respect, and without judgment. Asking questions is a great way to get them involved in creative solutions to their own challenges. It can be very self-empowering for them. Accountability in a caring matter. And what I mean to say by that is to teach your kids about responsibility and limits. Because current research demonstrates that punishment does not go a long way in changing the tendency to engage in behavior that was originally being punished. Also, be consistent when it comes to modeling the behavior you speak, as well as teaching children to be respectful and mindful of others. Remember that you're their greatest role model, and what you do and say really matters. One great way to model for them is to illustrate how you go about calming yourself down so that your child can imitate that behavior and use it to calm themselves down whenever they're angry or anxious, upset, or frustrated. And lastly, when in doubt, seek assistance. And with that being said, let me tell you about our special guest today, Barbara Gilmour. Barbara is founder of Cool Kind Kid. After graduating from Penn State and several years in a family business, she began seeing a need for social skills training and started teaching manners and social skills to children in her area. Later, she expanded the kids course that she had written into a curriculum that she uses today. She's developed many award-winning supportive educational products. And the result for kids was more self-esteem, higher self-esteem, and a desire to know the right thing to do in various social situations. She saw a decrease in poor behavior because kids were no longer afraid of being embarrassed, teased, or excluded. Cool, Kind Kid is engaging kids as they learn social skills for building healthy relationships and rejecting bullying, since the kind kid is the cool kid and not the bully. Barbara, welcome to the Lovable Me Show.
Hi, Sharon. Thanks so much for including me. This is a great opportunity, and I look forward to the interview, and I look forward to being able to share some of the things that I've learned with your viewers. Cool Kind Kid is my, and I have to laugh when I say this, it's my late in life passion and mission that I feel like I've been given to do. So I work at it full time, and we've seen great positive changes in the kids' lives that Cool Kind Kid has touched.
Well, you know, it's never too late to jump in and do something that benefits, you know, society, and in this case, especially kids.
Right.
And, you know, I know that the whole bullying issue is something that not only is a huge challenge for children, and it can be very disheartening for families who witness it, and it seems to impact the entire family, as a matter of fact. And before I jump into some questions with you, I just want to mention that, you know, I had firsthand experience with this with my grandson, you know, sort of watching as it unfolded with him as he started school in his very early years and began to be bullied, and so much to the point that, you know, some of the signs that we saw were really sort of a retreating back, not, you know, communicating, you know, what was going on or what his feelings or what was going on in the school, pulling his hair out, you know, just sleepless nights, you know, difficulty getting up in the morning and wanting to, you know, jump back into that scenario. And I also saw that it really impacted the entire family because we all somewhat felt helpless and weren't sure quite how to deal with it. And even the time that it took, the focus being so much on him that the other child, his brother in the family, wasn't given sort of the same kind of attention, you know, because so much of the focus is on that child who is really almost drowning in a very uncomfortable and challenging situation. So I'm excited to hear what you have to say so that other families can deal with this, you know, more effectively. Can you start by telling us, you know, what it is, or why do kids, and maybe ultimately as they become adults, bully and become bullies?
Well, I think the thing that we need to do, first of all, Sharon, is we really need to define what bullying is. You see, you hear so many adults say, well, it's just kids will be kids. It's, you know, boys will be boys. And they just disregard it. But for a child, this is a very real thing. And I think I just completed a session of classes. We did 5 2-hour classes. And then the 6th class, we went to, excuse me, a restaurant. And one of the first things that we covered was the fact that if somebody does something or says something to you that's hurtful, it's just, and they only do it once, it's not nice. But if they say it to you, say or do something to you intentionally, and they mean it, and do it once, that's mean.
Mhm.
But if they say or do something intentional and repeatedly, that is bullying. You have kids who are shy, who are awkward, socially awkward. You have kids that may be minorities, that have disabilities. Kids are picking on other kids for just about anything and everything that you can think of. And I think what I see is a lot of them are attacking a child for things so that they don't get attacked. They become the aggressor so they don't become the victim. How do we address that? What I found is that we need to be doing that proactively. I went on to my own content last night in preparation for this. Every Sunday we post on our Cool Kind Kid Facebook page, we post what I call shocking Sunday stats. So I went back last night and we started posting these weekly back in 2017. So when I looked at some of them, I saw, wow, the stat was at that point. And then I saw further along in 19, the stat was worse. So the problem is not getting better. The problem is getting worse. My focus is,
I think our awareness is improving and there's so many tools out there, you're still finding that it's escalating.
It is escalating. In fact, my focus is on young children. When I started doing this, I wrote 2 courses. I wrote a course for teens and a course for elementary. I taught a couple sessions of teens and realized the elementary age kids were so much more receptive. Mm-hmm. And it was so much easier to change behavior at a young age rather than beyond middle school. So that's why my focus became on elementary ages. But what I found last night when I was going back through some of these stats, there are 74 million children in the US under 18. This is last year's. Mm-hmm. Almost a third of them, 27 million, are between the ages of 4 and 9. That's a huge number of kids. Mm-hmm. And half of them are experiencing bullying. Another stat I found, 13 million children will be bullied this year. So that's almost half. So that says to me, this is a huge problem that has to be dealt with. And I don't think it's being dealt with the way that it could be.
Yeah, obviously, it's if it's, we're seeing higher numbers, then we're either not doing enough or maybe not doing the right thing. What are some of the recommendations you have, or do we need to start to identify the signs? Are we missing the signs, at home? Are we missing the signs at school? What are the signs that we need to look for to see if our child, in fact, is being bullied?
Well, you went through many of them in your talk that you did prior to me coming on the interview. You covered quite a few of them. But I think we need to focus on one of the questions that I submitted to you was that let's go back and look at what has been done so far. And then I think we can get into what we can do going forward.
Okay.
Now, you're going to see, I've got a whole list of stats here that I could spout off to you. I don't know how many people are taking this as seriously as they should. If 13 million kids are going to be bullied this year. So that's almost half of the 27 million. Mm-hmm. It may not be your child, but it might be your neighbor's child. It might be your grandchild. It might be your niece or nephew. So it is something that we really need to be looking at. Now,
and excuse me, Barbara, but we also want to take into consideration that your child or someone else's child may be the one who is sort of perpetrating the bullying.
Can be, sure, certainly.
That may be part of another statistic.
Yes. Now, I think You're also going to find statistics out there that say the bullying is improving. However, I think the reason for that is kids are afraid to report it. They're afraid to report it to their parents, and they're more afraid to report it in school because of the repercussions that they will have from other kids.
Right.
They don't want to be the tattletale. One thing I tell kids right up front, reporting bullying is not tattling. You are preventing somebody from getting hurt. You're getting help for someone who is being hurt. When I started doing this, I spent a year researching and writing, and what I found was that manners, social skills, etiquette, if you will, went out of fashion in the 60s, 70s, and continued to go out of fashion. And I found that the word etiquette has an elitist connotation. And the thinking was, if those are rules for rich people. If I don't go where rich people go, I don't need to know this stuff. So it's kind of gotten watered down to the point where, we have a more casual society. And so there's a lot of people who don't know the right behavior rules to pass on. But what I found in the beginning was, when I first started researching, was that character education was the cure for bullying. Character education was in all the schools. There were many companies putting out character education materials. And then in the early 2000s, states started enacting legislation, directing school districts to adopt anti-bullying policies. Now, I'm giving you this background because it's important to understand where we are today. Exactly. I live in New Jersey. The first anti-bullying legislation they enacted was in 2004. And they updated it in 2009. I spoke at a governor's town hall meeting. They had several throughout the state, requesting that they put more proactive measures into the legislation. They did not, because they were not in that place at that time. So it took till probably maybe 2010 or 12 before the last state finally got on board. So you now have 50 states that have this legislation in place. In fact, if you go to bullypolice.org, you can read the legislation for every state. And some people would, like to do that. So the problem is with that is the schools now have to provide reporting to their states. They have to provide anti-bullying coordinators. They have a lot of policies to adhere to. They have a lot of programs that they have to do. So what's happening and what we're seeing since that time is most of what they're doing is reactive. They have to address bullying issues as they happen. So they're not getting to the root cause of the problem because they have to deal with the issues as they're happening. They're not preventing.
Right.
They're not addressing
a more reactive approach than a proactive one, which is what your mission and focus is.
Proactive. Yeah. It has always been proactive. Right.
Well, unfortunately, that is the case in many instances, in many areas of life. And until, we finally get it. And of course, there's sometimes when you're dealing with institutions and, there's a lot of red tape to deal with as well.
Exactly.
But I understand that you are integrating your curriculum in the schools.
We are attempting to do that.
Oh, okay.
It's not an easy sell because our curriculum is social skills for bullying prevention. Schools are not. Probably since 2008, research has begun to show social competence or social emotional learning, two new buzzwords, are what's missing in bullying prevention. Now, the addition to that is starting at young ages. Bullying is starting now in preschool at age 3.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which is scary. So materials need to be developed to address this very young age group. And this is where we come in. This is the materials that we have. They have to be fun. We have music. They have to have fun characters. There's a lot of components to it. And it's not just table manners. Our original name was Tanner's Manners. Tanner's happens to be my step-grandson's name. But we changed that because the connotation was manners equal table manners or dining skills. So it was very limiting. In fact, we even had a marketing company that did focus groups with us. And said, eliminate that. And we had Cool Kind Kid in our name. Tanner's Manners, be a cool kind kid. And they said, go with Cool Kind Kid.
I like the cool kind kid. I like that whole idea of emphasizing, how cool it is. That's something that, children, I think in general, people will appeal to them. It's very, very proactive and I think very current. Is this something that this curriculum or the tools that you have, are they ones that parents will implement at home as well, or is it something that's geared specifically for the school system?
Well, we actually have two markets. We have the three curriculum programs that we've developed for schools. We have a comprehensive elementary curriculum, and this is for second, third, and fourth grades. Now we have a lot of role plays, we have a lot of activities and stories, and we have a lot of things that require the kids to know how to read. So that's why we started second grade. We also have award-winning music, but beyond fourth grade, the music's a little childish. Though we've seen middle schools, music teachers, theater teachers implementing the music, and we also have a school assembly program. And that's a kit that the schools can buy, and the music departments in middle school can utilize those tools and perform for the younger kids, which they love doing. So several years ago, we felt the need, we did focus groups and felt the need to develop some parent-friendly materials. And that also includes teacher-friendly, because a teacher can't buy the curriculum, but they can buy a small book. So we created 3 books, and 2 of them are for parents and educators to work with kids. They're like a workbook, or we call one a handbook. The other one is a picture book. And these have been fun to create. And so those are our parent
tools
that they can use. We also have flash and game cards. We've developed laminated placemats, which kids can color over and over.
Yeah, so these are all great, helpful, supportive tools that we want to make. We want to make it a fun experience, while we're educating, because it will capture the child's interest, imagination, and it will be something that they'll gravitate. And of course, using over and over again, ultimately helps create the behavior, habit, and belief system that we're hoping to integrate in. Is there a cycle of bullying? Is there can you tell us about, because I know you've mentioned, bullying cycle and why it's so important to address that. I'm not even, certain what that is. So I'd like to hear.
I'll be happy to explain it to you.
Okay.
The bullying cycle has been established. It begins with rudeness or incivility. Now, I remember going back when I first started working in this area, there was a U.S. News and World Report published an article, this was in '96, that said most Americans consider rudeness a serious problem in our society. Fast forward to 2002, Pew Research published a report that was similar. Now, you fast forward to today, I'm sure that has not improved at all. We've all experienced road rage. We've all had a restaurant meal ruined by a kid that's running all over and the parents are oblivious. And we've all been to a sporting event where a father is belittling and embarrassing a child in a game that's supposed to be fun.
Mm-hmm.
So we've all seen that.
There's a lot of judgment and there's a lot of criticism,
right,
being thrown around all over the place. Right.
So the rudeness and incivility, the next step in the cycle is the bullying.
Mm-hmm. Then
the bullying can escalate into violence. So this is where we are today with a lot of violence, with a lot of school shootings. And I want to I have a couple things I want to say about that. But first, what I want to say is rudeness, bullying, violence. The rudeness and the incivility, which is the beginning of the cycle, is the easiest part to address.
Mm-hmm.
If we address that part of the cycle, then we can prevent a lot of the rest of the cycle. Now,
Barbara, when you say, I'm sorry, but when you say rudeness, can you be a little specific, just the kinds of things that you're talking about so that, we're not just sort of fluffing it off or passing it off when we hear it or see it, or witness it?
Wow, that's not something I even think about. I mean, to me, rudeness is interrupting, talking over someone, pushing, shoving. Oh gosh, talking about other people, talking. Oh gosh, you got me stumped on that one. Just unkind, uncaring, uncompassionate behavior, I would say. Are you there, Sharon? Okay. So one of the things that I wanted to share was the fact that when I talked about the violence, everybody's talking now about gun violence and how we have to regulate the guns, get the guns out of the schools. And I think that it's important that we understand that the gun violence is the result of the cycle from the rudeness and incivility to the bullying, and that's the result of gun violence. Now, if you recall, in February of 2014, we had a mass shooting at Parkland School in Florida. 17 people were killed. Nicholas Cruz was the shooter and had been bullied relentlessly. After that, I saw several different reports on school shootings. And the first report I saw said 2/3 of school shootings are caused by kids who've been bullied. The next report I saw said 3/4 of school shootings are perpetrated by kids who have been bullied. And the third report I saw said that over 90% of school shootings have been perpetrated by kids who are bullied. So yes, we need to regulate the guns, but to me, these statistics are showing us that the root of the problem is the bullying. In fact, 90% of 4th to 6th graders report being victims of bullying. Physical bullying increases for elementary ages and it peaks for middle school and then declines with high school. But verbal abuse, on the other hand, remains constant. And with the introduction of the internet, bullying, and specifically cyberbullying, they've taken on an entirely new dimension as a form of social cruelty. So I like that term, social cruelty. One thing I really want to stress is that I don't like to call kids bullies because that's putting a label on them. They're not always a bully. Sometimes they're a great kid. but there are probably things that have caused them to bully. And we need to, the way I refer them to them is a kid who bullies, rather than calling someone a bully. Because, part of bullying is labeling, put downs, name calling, and calling them a bully fits right in with that.
Yeah,
So,
I love that, by the way.
what can you do?
Yeah, I love that because it takes the, again, shame, blame away from the person. And we're just talking about the act that is, one that we're looking to upgrade, right?
Yeah.
The action. So I'm not sure where, I think I don't know if I got bumped off, or were you still present while we lost me for a little
Well,
bit.
I kept talking as you had directed me.
I let you run the show here today. Did we talk about some of the proactive versus reactive measures for dealing with bullying?
Well, the proactive is changing the behavior so the bullying doesn't happen. Reactive is dealing with it after it happens. That's it in a nutshell.
Yeah.
One thing I did want to mention was redefining cool.
Mm-hmm.
This is what we do. So what that means is most kids today are bombarded in their neighborhood, in school, and on the media especially, with the idea that mean, rude, and disrespectful behavior is cool and bullying is cool. So what we're trying to do is redefine cool so kids learn that kind, caring, respectful behavior is cool and bullying is uncool. So we have seen positive results with this. We've done pilot studies. I've had principals report back to me. The kids are policing themselves. Is that cool? Is that kind? Would a cool, kind kid do that? They grasp the concept. And I don't know where we are now with your program, but I do have some things that parents can do.
Yeah, I would love to hear that. And again, I just want to emphasize that I love that approach, that really promoting and surrounding the cool, kind kid with so much positivity and really, emphasizing that, especially, obviously at home, parents can, implement that for sure. And again, at the schools, because I think once a child leaves their home and they enter school, they're in that much more of a vulnerable place, especially if they're, a kid that's, very reserved or shy, or, just exhibit some of the traits that you mentioned earlier on that would, almost make them a target for that type of situation. So this is such a great proactive approach to the act of bullying. And yes, tell us about that and about what you're doing before we close the show out, so that parents and caregivers can connect with you.
Okay. Well, first I want to read the poem that I mentioned. This is called Raising a Cool Kind Kid. And I woke up at 5 a.m. a cold December morning in 2001, right after 9/11. I had this poem in my head. I'd never written a poem before. So I finally got up and started writing it down. And I just did something with it in the last couple of years, made this little book. So here's the poem. It all starts in the home when a young child first says, please. We follow him to preschool where he learns not to tease. Along the way, with others' help, he soon learns how to care, to be kind and honest, and play fair and share. When he steps outside his door, he soon begins to see that many different people live in his community. Asking what he can do to help, gladly doing his chore, he puts the needs of others first and cares about the poor. He learns respect for others, himself, and property too. He appreciates what's done for him and always says, thank you. He's known to be the friendly one, a really kind, cool kid. He stands up to the bully. We don't like what you did. He's learned to live the golden rule at home, camp, sports, and school. His kind heart clear to others. They see he's kind and cool. Now, there's two more stanzas that I guess we'd have to call course. I'm a citizen of the USA and proud to say I care. I'll fly our flag so high they'll see it everywhere. I'll respect our rights and freedom until the day I die, and be grateful when I see our flag fly in a clear, safe sky. So this is now a book. And just so I came up with 4 parts to the social skills training process, which parents and teachers can use. So the first part is training, introducing the skill. Second is guidance, modeling the skill as they learn and practice. Third is discipline, general correction, and reminders of the proper way you want it done. And fourth is praise, offering encouragement when they do it right and when they need to try again. The other thing we also have is what we call the Cool Kind Kid Challenge, asking kids, are you tough enough to be kind? Are you cool enough to be kind? And we have tons of challenges that we post all the time. So
that's wonderful. I love the approach. I think it's very uplifting. It's very proactive. And it's a very mindful practice. So thank you so much for sharing all that with us.
Thank you so much for inviting me. It's been fun.
Yeah, it's been great having you here. And I hope perhaps we can get you back on the show again at some point in time.
Okay.
Sound good? So before I close the show out, I just want to thank everyone for tuning in and for your viewership is actually, what keeps us going. Be sure to check out all the I Am a Lovable Me books. And you can find them at the end of this video. Just click on the end of this video and they will take you to them. They're great tools to help empower your kids. If you have, you'll never miss any of our great shows by watching us on Facebook, YouTube, or Periscope every Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if you have a topic you think parents or caregivers want to hear about and would like to be a guest on my show, please message me or send me an email on Facebook. I'm your host, Sharon Penchina, and I'll be back next week with more great self-empowerment tips for you. Thank you all for joining in. Thank you, Barbara Gilmour, and everyone have a fantastic day today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching The Lovable Me Show. Also, if you have any questions for Lovable, go ahead and ask away. Don't forget to visit us next week, right here in the Facebook bugler.